ready? Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Media Gallery. Today, Detective Vendra will be speaking to the media regarding suspicious deaths. Detective.
Thank you, Officer. Good afternoon. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody in the media and the public for their patience over the last 48 hours. I can appreciate there's been a lot of media speculation and scrutiny in relation to a suspicious find such as this one. I can tell you the last 48 hours have been very busy due to the diligent efforts of members of the Marine Unit, the officers and the sergeants of the Marine Unit dive team, forensic identification officers in the Toronto Police, the Coroner's Office, and members of the York Regional Police Homicide Unit for homicide and missing persons. All these people have provided help without hesitation and in a lot of cases sacrificed their own personal time on a long weekend. I can tell you based on the last 48 hours what we know. We have now identified positively the contents of the barrel that was recovered from Lake Ontario. It's the remains of 47-year-old Quang Liu. Mr. Liu went missing in 2007. Mr. Liu was a 47-year-old divorced father of one. At the time of his disappearance, he was living in Thornhill, Ontario. An intense missing person investigation was undertaken by members of the York Regional Police and eventually overtaken by the Homicide Bureau and Missing Persons Bureau of the York Regional Police Service. Behind me are Detective Sergeants Larry Wilson and Detective Ian Hill of that unit. These officers were involved in this case from the get-go, and it's based on a cooperation with the York Regional Police Service that we've been able to identify and have direction in this investigation so far. I can tell you that the investigation of Mr. Liu's disappearance started in late 2007 when he was reported missing by friends and family. This investigation continued into 2008 and was concluded in 2008 without Mr. Liu's body or his vehicle being found. As you might already know, this investigation was reopened on May 23rd, 2010 when we recovered the barrel from Lake Ontario, directly south of 125 Queens Quay East. Moving forward, I can tell you it's early stages. This is now no longer a missing person investigation. It's clearly a homicide investigation. We're now in receipt of the materials that were resulted from the investigation in the missing person case the York Region spearheaded in 2007 and 2008. It's going to be a long process. We've started to review those materials, but I can tell you right now that we're going to be re-interviewing all of the people that York Region spoke to back in 2007 and 2008 with this new piece of evidence that's recently become available to us, that being the body of Mr. Liu. We've notified Mr. Liu's next of kin today. There was obviously an amazing amount of pressure for us to notify next of kin. There are lots of families out there with loved ones who are missing, and we wanted to reduce any trauma that they may be experiencing when if we found their loved one. It's going to be a lengthy process at this point. I can tell you that the remains were well preserved. There's a media piece this week from an expert in the States indicating that a body submerged in concrete done in such a fashion it will actually be tremendously preserved, and I can tell you at this point that that is the case. Mr. Liu was identified through fingerprint analysis. At this point, the Toronto Police Service is going to maintain carriage of the murder investigation into Mr. Liu's death. We'll be working closely with members of the York Region Homicide Squad, but it will remain a Toronto Police case at this point. The victim, at the time of his disappearance in October 2007, was in ownership of a 2004 BMW Z4. It's pictured on the poster. That's obviously going to be a major focus of our investigation going forward. That vehicle still has not been found. At this point, I'd like to appeal to the public to come forward and please contact us either through the Homicide Squad at the Toronto Police Service or through Crime Stoppers if you have any information in regards to Mr. Liu's disappearance. It would have been late October 2007 to early November 2007. I can tell you Mr. Liu traveled frequently between China and Canada. He returned to Canada on October 26, 2007 from such a trip and went missing very shortly after that. Take any questions if you like.
Can you tell us about Mr. Liu's background, business, and criminal connections that he had?
At this point, I know there's a lot of speculation in terms of the manner in which we found Mr. Liu's remains. I can tell you that Mr. Liu is known to police, was known to police Mr. Liu does have ties with Asian organized crime, and I'm not going to expand any more than that at this point.
Can you just clarify exactly the way the body was found? It was in cement in a barrel. Explain to us how it was found.
Again, as we said at the scene, we received information the morning of the recovery. I can't expand on that. Obviously, this is a very new investigation for us, and we're not going to discuss the source of our information. I can tell you that it wasn't a random exercise conducted by the Marine Unit. It was very specific, and they were looking for that barrel in that place.
Within the barrel, how was it found?
Again, I don't want to get into too much of the condition of the body. I can definitely tell you that it was well preserved. It's probably part of the reason why we were able to tell you Mr. Liu's identity so quickly. We didn't know what we were going to discover when we opened that, whether there would be skeletal remains or even less.
As far as you know, were all the remains in that barrel?
At this point, we're not looking for any other remains suspect.
Do you believe it's been there since October of '07, or has someone moved it there in the interim?
I believe that in all likelihood, obviously it's a early stage of the investigation, but I do believe that it has been there probably since his disappearance or shortly thereafter.
Was there anything else in the barrel?
Concrete.
How did he die?
At this point, the pathologist has not released the cause of death. That's going to be something that's going to be forthcoming hopefully in the next weeks or months.
Beyond being known to police, could you expand on the details of his record?
I'd rather not. I'm not of the opinion that besmirching the character of our victims is a good idea. I believe I can tell you he was associated to organized crime in the Asian community, but beyond that, I'm not going to expand.
Are we talking big circle boys or traditional triad or?
Again, I don't want to narrow it down too much. At this point, I think it's quite revealing to say that he was associated to Asian organized crime. Beyond that,
Do you have any leads based on the fact that he is associated with organized crime?
you can appreciate that this investigation conducted by the York Region Homicide Squad took many months. We have a lot of material to pour over, a lot of video statements that were taken, and a lot of video surveillance that was seized at the time. So we're going to be going over that. Basically, we're going to start that investigation from scratch.
Were there any outstanding warrants or charges against him at the time of this?
Mr. Liu was not wanted at all. There was no outstanding charges.
Talk to us about this business of encasing somebody in cement. This is a very nasty business. It's not common. What type of individual or criminal might resort to this type of thing?
Given that it appeared that Mr. Liu did live quite a high-risk lifestyle, at this point, I'd be foolish to say we're not entertaining that there's a criminal organization angle to this. Having said that, we are diligent about keeping an open mind in terms of who may have done this to them and disposed of them in this way.
Is it possible that the vehicle might be in the way?
That's an angle we're going to look at. The vehicle obviously can be very important to us, as it was to the York homicide investigators back in 2007 and 2008. If we can find that vehicle, obviously we'll be doing forensic tests on it. Again, that's something that we would very much like members of the public to come forward and give us a clue on where that vehicle may have.
Could it be in the bottom of the lake?
Pardon me?
Any chance it could be in the water?
Absolutely, there's a chance it could be just about anywhere.
Will you guys go looking for it in the water?
We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Do you have a license plate number for that vehicle by chance?
It's on the media release. It was a 2004 silver BMW Z4 convertible.
Was
It was seen after Mr. Liu arrived back in Canada in late October 2007.
So can you just explain for us again, when he returned to Canada, and do you have any idea what type of business he was undertaking when he came back that caused him to vanish so suddenly?
Given his associations, I don't believe Mr. Liu had a regular job, as you and I might describe it. Beyond that, I can't tell you what he did for an income.
How long was he in Canada for?
Mr. Liu kept residence in Canada and spent a fair amount of time in China. Whether it's business or pleasure, we're still learning that.
When did he first come here, though?
That I don't know.
Mainland China, are we talking about, or Hong Kong, or?
I'll have to look through the records of that point.
Was the body all in one piece?
I can tell you it was well preserved. I don't want to get into too much of the details about the contents of or the condition of his body.
Is there anyone in custody?
No, there's nobody in custody for this case.
We'll take one more question.
Was the location?
Reaction from his family. You say he's a father, he has a child. What was their reaction when, after all this time, he's found like this?
You can appreciate having a loved one being gone for over 2.5 years. I think at this point they have resigned themselves to the fact that they may never know.
Sorry,
Shock.
So they thought they may never know.
I think at any missing person investigation, the family, after it's been that long a time, they appreciate that they never know. Having said that, numbness and shock would be one way to describe it.
Question. The location of the body, was it of the barrel? Were they able to get to it from the street, or would they have had to come in through the water?
Back in 2007, that area was a parking lot.
That area was a parking lot?
It would have been accessible by vehicle.
And it was close enough to the harbor?
It's quite close to the wall.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.